Okay, so Mishlei 1428, first half is very famous. All right, second half no one has ever heard of. Barov am hadras melech uva efes laom mechitas razon. Not only have people not heard of the second half, but they can't translate it, right? Okay, so anyone want to talk about the first half?
Well, I mean, Barov am hadras melech, it just means with majority of the nation.
Okay, so this is something I'm like 95% sure of, that the word rov in rabbinic Hebrew means majority, but in biblical Hebrew it means something else. Multitude. I mean, it's related, multitude, right? So in a multitude, of the nation. I think here people is probably a better translation. Hadras melech
glorifies the king.
Yeah, I think this is a noun, is the glory of the king. Okay, uve efes leom mechitas razon. So let me show you all the pieces. Efes is ceasing, or end or non-existence. Okay, I mean that's like zero. You got to remember zero was not invented back then. Leom is people. Okay, like leumim, I think it's from Shnei leumim mi'ayechi paredu, right? As by Rivka. Mechita is terror, destruction, or ruin, or dismay. And then razon. So razon is a little bit of a machlokas here. We'll see in the translations. Hutintit, okay, which I think is a fancy word for leader. Okay, and they only quote our pasuk as the only source. So that's yeah. So anyone want to try it out?
What's om again?
Leom, it's weird. Le is not a prefix, I don't think. I think leom is the word. So it means people.
So
or population.
People will cease.
B'efes.
With the cease.
Okay.
And with the cease of people.
Okay. With the cease of people, I mean, okay, you could say with, I don't know, in the ceasing, or let's say non-existence, existence, or let's say absence, that sounds more normal. Absence of people, mechitas razon. So mechita again is destruction or terror.
Terror to
It's the let's say terror, destruction, ruin. We'll just put all of them. I'm just say I don't want to look at what a potentate actually is. I think it means a leader.
Whatever it is, I still want to use the word.
Potentate, yeah. Is a monarch or ruler. Okay, of a ruler. I'll say the ruler. Okay. All right, let's see what the minimalist translations have here.
Do word of the day for my fifth graders.
Yeah, I do word of the day for all my classes. Okay. ציון says Efes is inyanu kamo be'ein, meaning without. Okay, let's just say without. That sounds more natural. But without people. And leom.
Missing the in.
Oh, the in. What was that? Where? Ube'efes. Yeah, but I think he's saying without people. You're saying
I think in the translation, if you're reflecting the absence,
right?
Then you have.
I think right. Yeah, I think he's saying the phrase. I think he's saying BFS is just the word without. I think. I mean, we can still say in the absence. I'll put that there. Or in the absence of. Yeah,
I think without would be like, the translate the base as with, and it's like with a cessation meaning without.
Yeah, Laom is Uma. So Uma is more like nation, right? Okay, and then Mechita is Shever Upachad. Okay, so that's also both of them. Is breaking or fear. And then Razon, he has to define all of them. Okay, good. It's not just us. Inyano Kumo Sar. So that's like an officer or ruler. All right, good. So we got them into Tion. Targum Sadigon says, who only modifies the second half. Uvehedar halaom mechitas harazon. And in the absence of the people, I guess, or of the nation, is a destruction of the razon. And Kathach says, Tirgum laom chazav. Kavutzas b'nei Adam hamugadim lachativa acha. So a laom is a group of people who are united into one chunk, Bine razon and rosen means sar, and he says min hamilim hamahu fachos, simla, salma, keves, kesev. So it's one of these words that like razon and rosen mean the same thing. You just got to flip the letters. Okay, and then Targum says besuga de ama hadre de malka vehech dibitzir ama mitvar parnase. Okay, so same thing, but he says bitzir is without. All right, fine. And then we got our minimalist translations here. Our scroll says a multitude of people is a king's glory, but without a regime, rulership is broken. So they say rulership, not ruler, and they have Mechita is broken, Laom is regime, and with Ephes is without. Hirsch says in the multitude of people is the king's glory, but in decrease of population, the dread of want. Okay, so this is the other thing also. Razon, we say this in is it in Kiddush Chodesh? No, we definitely. I know there's a thing where razon, amen, right? Sova v'razon, but they're paired, right? Sova is like satiety and abundance, and razon is like famine, So I bet Rav Hirsch has a theory about razon and mazon are related. Yeah, okay. And then Alter acknowledges both of them. He says, in the people's multitude is the king's glory, but when the nation is absent, the ruler's disaster. And then he says, ruler. The translation reads rosen. Okay, not razon for the Masoretic razon famine. Because I'm gonna keep all these up here because we don't really know which is right. Okay, yes, this is a difficult pasuk to work with.
I don't have an idea, but
yeah, all right. I mean, this is one where I feel like the more surefire route is to just latch onto the first half and then use that to figure out what translation you want for the second half. Yeah. All right. So what are the questions here?
definition questions.
Yeah, let's do all the definition questions. Let's knock them all off.
What do you mean by what do you mean by?
Yeah, okay. So what is I'm just gonna list all of them. What is Hadar? Or I guess what is Hadras Melech? What is
what's Roham?
Yeah. I'm just gonna do the hold on a second. What does Mechita mean? What is Razon? And then I'm gonna say see, I don't view this as a definition question. I view this as how much constitutes berov because we know what rov means, right, and we know what am is. So that's why I was doing the definition question first. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, assuming that what is it? Rosalind means leader.
Yeah.
So then the terror of the leader, or however you translate Mechita,
yeah,
is that the terror that the leader is experiencing or the terror that the leader is inflicting?
Right. Okay. So what does Mechita mean? And then whose Mechita is it? The terror experienced by the Razon, or I guess by the ruler, or by the people? Yeah, Ariel?
What's the scenario?
Yeah, that's going to be the major question here.
And what's the subject of it?
Yeah, what scenario is this describing? And then what is the subject of the pasuk? Yeah, Sean?
Yeah, what's the contrasting of Melech and Razon, if there is any?
Yeah.
It could just be poetic language, but it's
that is strange, right? Usually you have a pasuk about a king, and the whole pasuk is about a king, right? Here you got two different. What is the relationship between, or contrast, I guess, between Melech and Razon? According to, I guess, either translation.
Can you explain that question?
Actually, hold on a second. If it's ruler, if Razon means ruler. So in other words, this is saying in the abundance of multitude of people is the glory of the king. King seems to be the highest type of power, and then it demotes it to Razon in the second half. And then if it's not talking about a king, if Razon means hunger or famine, so then the whole pasuk is talking about a king. But then you got the question about what's the what are the opposites? Actually, let's just say that here in general, right? What is the relationship between the two halves in general? Okay, like what is the opposite of what?
Yeah, and to flesh out 8.
Yeah.
Are the Melech and the Razon really the same person, or is it two different types of people? And if they are the same person, then why demote him to just
Right.
ruler and not king?
Yeah, and if they're the same type of person, why demote him? Yeah, Ariel.
Yeah, also, I mean, even if he doesn't have any people, like why would it lead to his destruction?
Yeah, so let's just say what is the cause and effect relationship between, I guess really in both halves, right? The Rove, this is gonna be the main question. The Rove and the Hadras Melech in the first half, and the the Ephes Laom and the Mechitas Razon. Yeah. By the way, I know I've shown this before, but I just want to show you again on Torah. Then let me make this bigger. I think, hold on just a second. Am I imagining this? 28. Never mind, forget it. Yeah, thought there was a feature that I didn't. Yeah. Okay. I feel like those are the major questions. I mean, obviously the question is what's the practical decision making application, and then like who is the audience, right? Is this for the leader or the people? Is this for the leader himself or the people? Yeah, either.
I have an approach.
Okay, I think Ariel was first. Yeah.
You could go first.
All right, you're
Or
first, Isaac.
something.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. So I think this is targeting a specific Havamina that the king might have of that, because in a certain sense the king is all powerful.
Mhm.
He feels like he doesn't need his populace
Right.
for, and while it's true he doesn't need, he might not need any individual member of his populace, but he does need having like the throngs of people.
Yeah.
And if they leave him, he's nothing,
Right. Yeah.
I think,
Yeah. Go ahead.
and just like you see this play out practically with bosses who like feel like they have like they have lots and lots of power, but then their employees leave them, and then it all just crashes and burns because
Right.
they don't have people.
Right. So it's not just talking about a king, it's talking about anyone who's in a position of power over a system, right? So that's also like the basic approach I want to take as well. But I think we can maneuver in terms of who this is for, because I think that cuts both ways. Right. So there's a Havamina that a king or ruler or like, bossy man, not bossy man, boss man can have, that his power is intrinsic, but in reality, he has to recognize that it's dependent on the people he rules, and can be taken away, if by them. Yeah, right. I think that's gonna be the crux of whatever idea we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a similar.
Can
Yeah.
I add on?
Yeah.
And I want to say that, my approach isn't about, the king, he does back to his people.
Mhm.
And the chiddush is that, and I want to use Achashverosh and Cyrus the Great.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, what was it, Cyrus? I think I think it was Cyrus. Both Achashverosh and Cyrus, they both went out of their ways to really appease their officers, appease the people. Because you could be neutral, but look, we're talking right the framework of politics. Right? The framework of politics, what it means is that if you don't have people, you won't further your agenda, you won't further your power.
Right.
Right. And the second half just means that if you don't have their influence, then you won't really succeed. In fact, it could be destructive, because like if there's another guy who wants to gain power, he could promise the world, and You have to solidify your relationships.
Okay, so the practical advice for the rulers, they need to appease the people for his own, in order to even like to have and maintain and cultivate his own power.
Yeah, like the case with Cyrus the Great that I'm remembering in class was he gathered all the people in the top officers, and his first day he made them work really hard. And the second day he went out of it to understand what each person liked. And he made a glorious party.
Interesting.
Catered to each person. And then he asked them, what day would you rather have, the second day or the first day? And if you make me king, you're under my rulership, your second day will be like this for.
Yeah, that's good.
That's what.
Right. Yeah, that's also why it's a good. I don't know. There's this resistance in older generations of educators, that is like almost like an anti-democratic mentality, that like the classroom is not a democracy. It's such an effective thing though. Like when you work with students and ask them what they want or what their preferences are, and like coming up with policies and rules together, and not like being tyrannical. Like it's in your best interest. Like at the end of the day, like you are, you're one person and they're like 20 people or whatever. So it's in your best interest. Yeah, Ezra.
Maybe in line with Isaac's approach to explain why it switches from Melech to Raza.
Yeah.
Maybe Melech is speaking in the framework of how the king looks at himself and views himself objectively as a powerful person.
Yeah.
But then it points out the fact that really his only power is insofar as he rules the people. But if they leave him, then he no longer has any power.
Okay, so perhaps this is why it uses Melech in the first half, because he views his own Malchus as intrinsic, but the second half uses Razon, which is a more utilitarian functional definition, to point out that I guess to underscore the real source of his power. Yeah, Sean.
Yeah, I have a different approach.
Okay.
It seems like these three approaches are focusing on Hazrat Melech in terms of power.
Yeah.
Which for me doesn't fit as much.
Yeah.
For me, like the glory of the king is more like how great the king is, and not necessarily within his power, although I do see this approach.
Yeah.
What I would say instead is that I think there's a Halloween that a lot of times kings think that the way in which they glorify themselves is through physically glorifying themselves. And the pasuk is really pointing out that the glory of a king is not within himself or within his palace and how everything looks, but really within how he's ruling as a leader. And the only way in which you can actually see that dimension is how the people are functioning. So if the people are functioning in a way which is like a positive society, so then you say that that's the glory of the king. That's how you see. That's the barometer of his greatness, not any like physical material thing, but really the people. And when the people are absent, meaning that society is not functioning well, so then that shows the ruin of the ruler, because that ultimately is going to spell the destruction of the ruler if he can't control people. Okay, so the emphasis on the glory of the king. The glory is only measurable by how well the populace is functioning. Sorry, just say that last point again. Yeah, and then the reverse is that the absence of the people functioning is the destruction of the ruler. Meaning, once society collapses, so then the ruler collapses as well. He goes, with the ship. Yeah. So. Okay. Yeah. So I think that's good. I also was focusing on the glory, but I'm going to take it one step. Actually, maybe I can't tell if this is. Give me 1 second. Maybe this is just Isaac's and Ariel's and Ezra's idea. Okay, so I'm gonna just state the idea, and then we'll see where it falls in. Is that the subject of the pasuk is the nature of the king's glory. Okay, which is that it's an illusion propped up
by the people's recognition. Okay, so like it can be real insofar as people like believe in it, but if they withdraw their belief, their attribution of glory to him, then the entire kingship loses power. So right, I mean the what's the classic tale that like illustrates this is The Emperor's New Clothes, right? Which like are you familiar? The Emperor's New Clothes?
Oh no, is that a movie?
No, it's like it must be like a fairy tale or something like that. It's like the I don't even remember the exact plot, but something basically like somehow there's a tailor or something like that the king hires to like make him like the best clothing, and the tailor basically like doesn't make him anything, but then convinces him that this is these garments are, he basically like says it's he doesn't say it's an invisible garment, but he holds up like this thing and he says, only like people who can like see the true,
Like
so yeah, so
so
only certain people can like see your garment, and like the king basically like doesn't want to admit that he can't see it, so like he pretends that he's actually wearing something, and then all the people around also don't want to be seen as someone who like is lacks this quality. I'm telling this really badly, but the point is that like everyone is just pretending that like this king is actually wearing clothing, but he's really just naked, and then I think the story ends with like this one kid like pointing out like the king's not wearing any clothes, and then it breaks the entire illusion, yeah. So I think that's the phenomenon that this is pointing out, and I think I'm influenced. I know this is very close to like what I think Isaac, Ariel, and Ezra are talking about like a real phenomenon, but I want to point out that the subject is really the illusion, and I think, and I'm we don't usually like interpret these things in their historical context, but I do think that like in the majority of the world at the time of Shlomo, people viewed kingships as like intrinsic qualities, like, and that the kings are objectively great, like they're demigods, or they're like. So I think this idea packed even more punch back then, that this is purely a social phenomenon, that the only king who has intrinsic malchus is God. Yeah, but what I want to do though, I think the reason why I also am inclined towards this is I want to try to predict the Meiri's Derech Nister.
Oh,
Yeah, you can even have first crack at it. Okay.
Okay, fine. It's not fully thought out, but I'll just say to take a time.
Okay.
Maybe you can say that like you have like you need a it's more along with my idea of translating to Nestor, but
Okay.
like you need to cater to your emotional faculties or better faculties. That because they're kind of like necessary. And look, this is Mishlei. It's not like the ideal, but like you need to cater to them in proper ways such that it can further your intellect.
Okay.
It's kind of in a nutshell.
Okay, so let's actually break it down into the components first. Okay, and then I don't know if my approach is similar to yours. So this is the Meiri. Where does he get it from? One second. So I'm just going to review this because I feel like we haven't talked about it in a while. So the Meiri in his Derech Nister uses this mashal that Shlomo uses in Koheles, which is in Koheles 4:13. Tov yeled miskein v'chacham mimelech zakin uchsiel asher lo yada lihizaher od. Actually, I want to do Rashi here because I think Rashi brings it down. I think it's from Chazal originally. So better a poor and wise youth than an old and foolish king who does not know how to guard himself anymore. Kimi beis hasurim yatsa limloch gam b'malchuso nolad rash. Because he came from the prison to rule, and he and even in his kingship he is born poor. Okay, I don't know what that means. So Rashi says Tov yeled miskein v'chacham. So who is the poor and wise youth? Zeh yitzer tov. That's the Yitzer Tov. Lama Nikra Yeled. Why is he called a youth? She'ino Bab Adam Ad Yud Moshana, because he doesn't come into a person until he's 13, right? So the Yitzer Tov is your intellect that doesn't really start exerting an influence until you're 13. And then Miskein, what does it mean? He's poor. She'ein ha'ivarim shomin lo kamod le'yitzhara. Poor here does not mean in money, it means an influence, that the limbs, your body does not obey your Yetzer Tov in the same way that it does the Yetzer Hara. And the Chacham, he's Chacham Shemaskil as Adam B'derech Tova, because it could intelligently guide you on the right path. And then Melech Zakin Uksiel, the Yetzer Hara, Shehu Shalit Al Kol Haivarim. So he's called a Melech because he rules over all of the limbs. And Zakin Misha Shenolad Havlad Hunasan Bo. He's called old because he emerges in you as soon as you're born. Shnemar, as it says, the Pesach Hatas Rovates. That's the machlokes between Antoninus and Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, right? It seems pretty clear Antoninus is not Marcus Aurelius, even though that's a fun thing to think about. That the machlokes is about when the Yetzer Hara is in you. I think Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi said it's from in the womb. And then Antoninus says from when you are born. And then I think Rabbi Hanasi concedes to him. And then Ksiel is Shemat Ehu L'derech Ra. Ksiel because he guides you on the wrong path. Kachu Nidrosh B'midrash. Okay, so that's what the Meiri uses to explain all of the Derech Nister stuff. Okay, so here we have, Isaac.
I also want to take a crack at the Derech Nister.
Okay, sure. So let me just plug in the components here. So Melech equals Yetzer Hara, okay, and then the actually I'm gonna make this all right. Melech is Yetzer Hara, and then the and Laom are the limbs and bodily faculties, okay. Yeah, that's all we got. Okay, yeah, Isaac.
Yeah, I think there's this feeling of like this this drive is so powerful. How is it? It's impossible to like disobey it.
Yeah.
But then when you actually then like do, and you start pulling your energies away from with the drive, then it just looks empty and powerless, and
yeah. All right, so that's a similar approach to the one I'm taking. I'm gonna take it the in a slightly different direction. Okay, so I'm gonna say it like this: the Yetzer Hara can feel like impossibly powerful, okay, and unconquerable, okay, like a king. Okay, in reality, the power lies in the people, okay, i.e. the limbs. And this is the whole Sefer HaChinuk's approach to understanding mitzvos, is that like if you're trying to influence the king from within, it's not likely to succeed. But if you change your actions, okay, i.e. get the people on board independently of the king, then the king will have to follow, okay? So in other words, that's the Sefer HaChinuk's thing of the mitzvos influence you by changing your actions, and then your actions change your emotions and your internal state, So the mistake, and I think this is related to it's related to the phenomenon in the end of Sukkah, the Gemara Sukkah, about how Lasi Lava, like God will show the tzaddikim and the Rishayim the Yetzer Hara, and like, I forget which one it is. They're both gonna cry. What was it?
I think will be a big mountain.
Right.
And they'll cry that they overcame it.
Right.
Rishon will see like a tiny little string or something.
Yeah, and they'll cry because they couldn't overcome it, and I think that's also showing that like for the Rishayim, there is an illusion of power that the Yetzer Hara has, and the objective reality is it doesn't have the power that people attribute to it, But what this is saying, I think what's interesting about this one, if we take the Meiri, I'm very curious to see what the Meiri, I know he's going to say something like this, but what's interesting about it is it does not have the presence of the Yeled Miskein in here, right? This is not about the intellect overpowering the Yetzer Hara. This is about the limbs overpowering the Yetzer Hara. Yeah.
Okay. I have a question on this.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm furthering, I want to further this idea because like I believe that this is like the main idea on how to overthrow an evil melech.
Okay.
Okay.
You're still going to be going on the Derech Nister, or you're going for the?
Well, it's the application of the
okay,
Derech
yeah,
Nister, right? Meaning like really the people are in control, and like,
right.
You influence the king to either destroy him or to make him better. Whatever.
Right.
So like but in history, the question is in history, like you see that the Melech, he is evil, and like he let's say the Melech was evil and like the people want to influence him to either overthrow him or like change his actions, like, so how does that work? Because people always use the excuse, he's too powerful, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm asking this question is because that's the argument people give me when I'm saying that we have to overthrow the king. So according to this is the best right ever. So I'm sorry, I have to further my goals here, but I'm just wondering.
Yeah,
Ignore the last part. I'm just mentioning.
Okay.
But
I do think that I was also thinking about who's the audience for.
Yeah.
And according to my approach, I think the audience is for the people, and that they have to be able to see through the illusion of the king's power, either to overthrow him or even to influence him. I mean, I think that's another thing, is that people think that there's no point in even trying to influence the king because they're intimidated by the grandeur. Yeah.
In terms of the king himself, it's true that the people give him the power, but in reality, if you try to, let's say, overthrow him, you're going to lose a lot of people now.
Right.
But not just like they could just do whatever they want.
Correct. Right.
What do you mean?
Meaning the king does have actual power, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, so the question is like, how true is this pasuk?
Right. No. So there, I think that, I mean, yeah.
Like,
Okay.
like the reason why I'm saying this and I'm emphasizing this point, because like, and at least in the system, like there are checks and balances. Like, like ideally, if the Malach is a Russia, you should overthrow him because you have the center and everything. And like the only way you don't overthrow him is because they themselves are evil, and corrupt. So
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
why if you have like a righteous Sanhedrin or like righteous people, you have an evil king. Ideally, you should implement this pasuk.
Right. Yeah. Easier said than done. Right. Yeah.
Ideally,
No. Right.
like,
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the pasuk going to teach you?
Yeah. Right. But that's why I think that the direct practical application has to do with just once you see that the king's glory is an illusion that is dependent on people acknowledging it, it gives you a whole realm of decision-making possibilities, like a whole range of decision-making possibilities, even within the king being the king, that you can use to like as avenues to influence. All right, let's see what the Meiri says. I know we don't usually go to Meiri first, but I'm very curious here. I bet it's probably connected to the next one. Brovam Hadras Melech. Where's the rest of the Meiri? Oh, yeah, he connects it to the next one, but we're going to do it anyway. Erech Apayim Rav Tvuna Uktsar Ruach Meri Miveles. One who's slow to anger has great understanding, and one who's short-tempered elevates foolishness. Benigle Ha'ar Lamelech Limshoch Lev Ha'am. La'ahavaso. So the external meaning is that it's advice for the king to draw the people in to love him. Okay. U'kamosh amar hachacham le'echad hamalachim, like a chacham said to one of the malachim. This is in Seif. Sorry, I still don't know what that is. Hishtadel shetiye molech libos b'nei adam. Strive to rule over the hearts of people. Lo begufos levad, not only their bodies.
Man, Cyrus.
Good example of that. That was I think that was the nickname that they gave to Princess Diana, that she was the princess of people's hearts. And unlike the rest of the British monarchy, then like she really appealed to them and really, ended up having way more influence even after her death than the monarchy. Uvravam Efshar Shapirusho Barov Mamish. Some say it means with a multitude, literally. Ratzalomer Ba'amamin Merubin, with many people. V'tigboras Chayalos Yesh Hadar V'Kapal Melech, and huge, legions of soldiers. Then that will bring glory and honor, majesty to the king. Zeyihi Ahavas. But this is only if they love him. Shekulam Yamtziu Atmam Lechvodo Lechol Asher Yitzave. All of them will make themselves present for him and make themselves available for him in order to do whatever he commands, right? So in other words, people are going to want to serve him. That's the other thing also, is that, and that'll really bring a glory to the king. I guess the estimation of the people in their love of him, like the way that they regard him. Hadar v'kod melech. Okay. Efes la'om mechlitas razon. V'razon pirusho melech. Razon is just a synonym for melech. Meaning roznim. Kihem shteg gezeros. Razon v'rozen. So same word. Al mishkal gadol godel. V'gam b'kibbutz yocha. yuchol lehishtamish b'milas rizonim k'mo b'milas roznim. Okay, fine. Klomar sheb'efes la'om with in an absence of people who mechitas ha'adon v'shivro. That's going to be the destruction of the king and of the Lord and his breaking. V'yesh mefarshim razon. Shem davar kamo ha'inyan gamkein ratzon mechitas ha'adnus. So razon could be ruler or it could be rulership. Okay, fine. So far, it sounds like it's along the lines of what we were saying. Not so much what I was saying, but what you guys were saying is like the having the people supporting you is really what leads to your ability to rule. And it's saying like the extreme of that is when the people love you and want to serve you, you know? Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing also is like, I'll just say again, I'm you know, this could be applied to any system where you have like someone in rulership power, but like, you know, I've had people like, you know, sometimes people are astounded by what work I can get the students to do, you know, but it's cultivated over time. It's like they want to do my homework because they see that, first of all, I put in you know, the same amount of time and care and actually like care about their learning. Like they'll be willing to go out of their way to do lots and lots of work because they value the learning, you know? Yeah.
That's funny because like on the Haggadah, I just did a mentorship with Sentiment. One of the ways where he got us to opt into working
Paro, you mean?
Paro,
not
yeah,
Rabbi Cinnamon. Yeah. Yeah.
Was that he on the first day or whatever, you know, when they were signing up for it,
Yeah.
you know, like he was doing the work with them on the ground.
Right.
Yeah, and it showed, oh,
Yeah.
the Moses must be important. I'm gonna sign up. And
Yeah.
then like he switched the knob and
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so the bodily faculties will be subjugated to his service. Or when that happens, then now he's taking a different thing. Hamelach Hashalim, the perfected king, will be glorified. Okay, doesn't really elaborate. Okay, fine. So we'll have to see what he does with the second one. Okay, that was a little bit of a letdown. Let's do Rabbeinu Yonah. If Rabbeinu Yonah has something on this one. No, that's Rabbeinu Yonah here. Brov am hadras melech mam od yare es Hashem Yisrael. Okay, boteach v'shalev min hamelech. I think that's shalev. Ki hayare es Hashem ein bitchono tali bebasar v'dam ubitachon hamelech tali bebrios. Ki brov am hadras melech uv eves laom mitchidas razon yuras ha'adam. Okay, it's talking about Hashem. All right, you know what? I want to do the mitzvah stuff. We'll come back to that if we have the ability. We're going backwards. Brov am hadras melech nireh ba'avur rov ha'am asher ito. So the glory of the king is discernible, is visible, on account or because of the multitude of people that are with him. Uv efes ukishein imo rav, and when there are not a lot of people with him, azai nira hadraso. Okay, that's a completely different translation. Then, so when there are a lot of people, then the glory of the king is visible. But when there are not a lot of people, then the hadar of the king is visible through the fact that the Rosnim fear him. So he's reading the pasuk differently than we've seen. Okay, so he's learning it like this. Hold on a second. Matsudas David's translation is in the multitude. In a multitude of people, the king's glory is visible, but without people, the king's glory is visible in the fear of the fear experienced by the officers. Okay, that's a completely different way that we've seen to read it. Let's see what he says. This is a long Mitzvah stuff, but look at that. Okay, it's always shocking when he has more than like a few words.
Personal experience.
What was that?
When it gets personal experience.
Maybe. V'hu lamashal lomar hadras hamakom hu. Okay, so he's going back to God. Okay. All right, we'll see. I want to take it literally also, but the glory of God is kisharabim osim es mitzvah, is when the multitude do the mitzvah. V'im muatim hema, but if the people who are doing the mitzvah is few, im yasuhu b'yeser seis u b'kavana retzuya, then if those few people do it with extra strength and kavana, him hamahadrim ismachim, they're the ones who glorify God. So let's take it with his application to God first. Okay, I have easier time with this one than Rabbeinu Yona's, and then we'll see if it could be literal, right? So he's saying that there's two types of glory that God has. There's quantity and quality, right? There's like when everyone is doing the mitzvah, then that's a great thing. And then when there are few people who are still Yarei Dvar Hashem doing it, and they're doing it extra well. So what's the point of the pasuk then?
Can you see the last thing?
Yeah, that when lots of people are doing the mitzvah of God, that brings glory to him.
Yeah.
But when you don't have a lot of people doing it, but you only have a few people, but they're doing it really well, then that's the other way that God is glorified. So quantity, and then quality. Yeah.
To flesh out the second side before I say an overall lesson from it, it seems that when you have less people doing a specific type of action, it's harder to do that action because you don't have that reinforcing factor of everybody else is doing it. And that enhances the glory of doing that action if nobody else is doing it.
Right.
And so I think potentially an idea that could come out from this is that you can't necessarily tell the glory of something based off of how many people are doing it, or essentially based off of how many people are doing it.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are things that people are doing and everybody's doing it because it's the clear and right decision.
Yeah.
And sometimes there are a few people who, out of the masses, are really the only people who are doing the right thing, and you need to have a discerning eye to see where the glory of the king is actually residing. It doesn't always reside in one place or the other.
Right. That's a good. That's a good idea. Right. So can we apply that? So what's the translate into practical advice, if we can?
Yeah. I have a different twist on it.
Yeah.
Which I could translate into practical.
Sure.
It's more about like, like there are two. I think there are two ways. If there's an observer. Let's say we want to, make an impact on the rest of the world.
Yeah.
If every single Jew, one way is if every single Jew, keeps the Torah and the mitzvahs, and if we're all in sync with what we're supposed to do, and everyone sees that, then that, the powers in the numbers, and that's a great reflection on where we got the system of the Torah, right? Which can have influence there. But also, the question is, okay, fine, if you have a few people doing it very, very well, but the rest of the people aren't doing it, it's kind of hard to, from the observer, it's a little difficult to, that's the challenge. It's difficult to see exactly where it is. So I guess you could maybe say that, there are, even that individual is struggling on a different level. Like he can be pulled into the masses, right? But if he's firm and if he's really strict with his, system of the Torah, and if the observers can see that, the observer can see how determined he is in it, and that could be what Sean was saying,
a means of influencing. You mean? Yeah. And I think that is important to recognize that we are talking about rosening here. We're talking about like people who are on a higher level, who are doing it on that high level. Yeah.
My practical advice from this is when you're trying to find truth. Two good starting points is one, see what everybody's doing, what the masses are doing. Because typically, if the masses are doing it, there usually is some good idea there that's, very simple and accessible to the masses, and therefore there's usually a kernel of truth there. The other place to look is at the people who are resolutely opposing what the masses are doing. And if a person has that much determination towards going against the stream, so usually the reason why a person has that much determination is because they see a truth there that empowers them to go against what everybody else is doing. And so those two trends are great ways to see motivating factors for truth.
Okay, so I think that's a good idea. I think the only thing that I'm undecided about with both of your approaches here is that seems like he's making the idea specifically about God. I'm not sure because he's saying hula mashal.
Well, to apply to a melech.
Right. That's why I don't, this is where I really feel like I want to think about what the subject of the pasuk is. Unfortunately, I have to go now. So we'll decide whether to revisit this on Monday, or to do something else. But let's just summarize what we have so far. So we had a couple basic approaches. One approach was the power in the ruler lies in the subjects, ultimately. And that could be advice for the king to not get caught up in his own view of his own intrinsic power, or it could be advice for the people, or it could be advice for the king to appease the people, kind of like what the Meiri was saying, what Ariel was saying, or advice for the people that like to recognize that they have the real power, and obviously that has to be implemented in a rational way. And then that was one idea. Sean had the idea that the functioning of the populace is the indicator of the king's objective actual glory. My question on that, which I didn't mention, is it is interesting though that it doesn't say in like the flourishing or any like where it just seems to say quantity, rove and ephes. So I would want to like think about that and see whether that idea fits in. Then my idea was about the illusory nature. People treat the glory of the king as something that's actually real, but really it's dependent on people acknowledging it. And I think that for me, the Derech Nister is the main takeaway for me, is that don't be fooled by the Hadras Melech Zaken, that the power is really in the people. And if you change the behavior, whether through mitzvos, whether through habits, whether through like sometimes just willpower of just forcing yourself to like do the action, it could break the glory of the king enough for you to be able to like get in and act. Okay. All right. Interesting pasuk to think about. Difficult reading, but yeah. Okay. Thanks for coming.